All right. Yep, I think we are good now. I'm going to wait for some people to join us again here because I had to switch live streams twice now. Hoping people kind of figure out that we moved over to a different one. Okay, Billy, you got us. Sweet. Let's get this all back set up here. No idea what that was, guys. Apologize for the technical difficulties. This is the second time in a week, and second week in a row that that's happened. And if anybody knows about YouTube live streams and why it might, everything, we didn't change anything. Like nothing got unplugged, nothing got plugged back in. I just came out of the live stream and had to make a new one and go back into it, and it is fine all of a sudden. So, and I know now that you can see the audio on the bottom under the live stream. You can see that there's audio coming in. It's like green, and before it was white. So if anybody knows what I might be doing wrong, definitely hit me up in like a DM or something so that doesn't keep happening. But yeah, so I was saying before I was rudely interrupted by not having any audio that my name is Ben. You are here with Speedrun Siege. This is our weekly live stream. And you're also here with Eric. Eric is
Hey guys.
the other head breeder at Speedrun Seeds, and he's been working here for a long time. We've been working together for a long time. Eric is an extremely talented breeder, extremely talented Fino hunter, and he just does an excellent job with what he does. So a lot of the stuff that you guys love about the genetics, this guy's responsible for it. And yeah, so I figured it would be a good time to sit down with you and have. Are we brothers? We are not. We are brothers in male pattern baldness, but that's pretty much where that. But yeah. So we figured it'd be a good time to take questions just like that, and talk about breeding. We have some topics that we're going to cover. What's up? Yeah. It's. I was saying before we started, I got to get some makeup for my scalp. And then, as I realized that I only brought the one microphone here. I was going to try to leave it in between the middle here, but if you guys can't hear very well, just let me know in the stream there. Like as we're still kind of getting set up, like if I leave it in the middle here, can you still hear okay, or should I just keep it in front of both of us? But yeah, I will. One of you guys let me know. But yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about breeding, and I'm recalling what I was saying before I realized we didn't have audio. We're going to talk a little bit about pheno hunting and what we look for in the plants that we pheno hunt here, and we're going to be talking about what we've done to get to the strains that we have now, and then what we're doing with the strains that we have now to take them to the next generation, or back crossing and all that kind of good stuff. And then also a little bit about what we do differently than other people, and that yeah, I said middle there. Okay, cool. And that, that'll lead into the Q&A. And we'll be able to sort of take some specific questions from you guys. If you have anything that you're interested to learn about breeding or what we do here, we're happy to take those kinds of questions. But first off, I wanted to show you guys that we have some new cool stuff that came in. Our sticker printer is here. So Eric's going to show you some of the dope new stickers that we have printed out. And these are all limited edition, limited run, I should say, and we're going to be sending these out with orders, and you'll see that from us moving forward. For every order that you place now, they'll all come with like new awesome cool stickers. And what we're going to do with these is you will see on the back of some of these, and as an example, I will go ahead and do this for you real quick. So you will see numbers and a little initial on the back of this. All the stickers are going to have, says 1 of 10, and all of these are going to be numbered. They're going to go out with the orders, and you'll be able to collect specific series of stickers. So I think the ones that he was showing you, those are all the Grand Theft Auto themed Pound Dog F5 stickers. And right now there's 6 of them that we have here, but there's probably going to be closer to 10 of that strain of that particular video game theme for that strain. And you'll be able to collect all of them and send in pictures of the front and the back that has obviously the stickers and then the numbers on the back. And you'll be able to trade that in for, not trade it in, but send in the stickers indicating that you've collected all 10 or so, and you'll win like some of the larger prizes that we've ever done here. I know one of the first ones that we're doing is a grow tent and a light, and ton of seed giveaways, all that kind of good stuff. So that is what you'll be able to do with the stickers. Did you show them all the fruit ones? Yeah, sweet. And then like these are not limited. These are not counted in that. These are just like the new holographic logo stickers, and these are going to go in with every order now. So we get one or a couple of those with every order that goes out. But that's the sticker printer. We've been waiting for that for a long time, and super excited about it. And then the other cool thing that has come in is the sample, and the rest of these will be here probably end of this coming week, or at the latest about a week from tomorrow. You will see our new packaging. So this is the new packaging, and same case, normal, like the normal plastic case, but it now has the custom branded, it's like cell phone box material, rigid cardboard. So yeah, that's the new packaging. We're super excited about that too. So figured I would show you guys that now that it is officially here. So appreciate that, Dead Folk. We put a lot of thought into the packaging, and I know a lot of people love the cases. They can be reused, first of all. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like the single-use plastics and stuff like that. So those are cool because they can be used for whatever. Like if you collect anything small, or even your seed collection can go in there. And then also, yeah, just like I really dig the way that these came out, and super excited to start sending out orders in the new packaging. So appreciate that you guys appreciate it. Let's see. Bottles are so ill. Well, thank you. We really like those also. Starting now for the Pound Dog slaps. Yeah, well, yes. Orders are now going out with the limited run stickers, and the new packaging is not quite in yet. So that's the sample, but it is on the way, like DHL from the manufacturer. So we're waiting on that, probably about a week before those start going out. But slaps are going out, and yeah, they are all limited run slaps. And we will post pictures on the group and in the website in the membership section, where you can see all of the ones that there are that you would need to collect in order to win. But yeah, that's what you're going to see with starting now for sure with all the slaps. So well, I think we can just kind of jump right into it. Eric and I were talking, and we were trying to decide on what a good place to start for the Fino hunting conversation, the breeding conversation was. And we kind of came to the conclusion that we've talked a lot with people, or at least I have interacted a ton with people on the Facebook group and on the Instagram and just generally on social media. And one of the things that we hear most is people early on in the vegetative stage, when they try our genetics versus a different autoflower that they've grown in the past, or whatever that might be, they're really surprised by the vegetative growth rate. And they're surprised by just the vigor that you're able to get out of them when you feed them, as they should be, which is heavily. We feed all of our plants really heavily here, and I'll get into the nutrition a little bit. But one of the first things that we pheno hunt for, right? Like when we're running a new strain, or when we're making the next generation of a new strain, we're looking first for vegetative growth features, phenotype features that that we're going to isolate and keep the ones that meet those criteria for what we're trying to get out of that plant in the vegetative stage. And we will have other criteria later on in the flowering stage, but that is one of the most important things about what we do is we don't move all of these plants into the flowering stage or into the breeding portion of the process here. So we'll see, hypothetically, if we were to start 100 plants, if we were to start 100 plants of a particular strain, we're going to narrow those down to possibly even as little as like 5 to 10 that we're actually going to pollinate, and that'll happen from early on. If we see ones that are just not doing well or they're not growing right, not the vigor's not there, or they can't handle the nutrition that we're giving them. Like we'll see that sometimes, some burnt tips, and while it's not a major problem for that particular plant, it would just be, if you were to grow that plant at home, you would just maybe dial back your nutrition a little bit. But for us here, we're only looking to move certain traits into the next generation. So that plant will be killed, and that plant won't make it into the portion, even if everything else about it was really nice. If it can't handle the nutrients that we're giving it, that all the other ones can, not going to make it. And then there's stem rub. Like that's something that we'll do early on in the process if we're trying to get an idea for what the phenotype, the terpene profile phenotype might be for that strain. Obviously, we're not going to be able to tell until the plant is flowering, but we can get ourselves a little bit of an idea of where it's going. Would you say with the stem rub?
Yeah, I mean sometimes we're redoing the same breed over and over again, so we kind of know what stem we're looking for to begin with, and then that can narrow it down a bit.
100%, yeah, and that's the other thing is with the pheno hunting, it's not necessarily we're looking just for things that are good. We're looking for things that embody what the strain is. So like that's something where we've with the Fruit Fuel BX1 recently, that's the reason that back cross was made the way it was, is because those two phenotypes, or the two plants that were of the same phenotype, or the original phenotype that we isolated in the earlier generation, and then finding it again in the later generation, I should say, those really embodied what that strain is supposed to be, like the description that we put on the website and what we're specifically looking for when we breed traits into the Fruit Fuel specifically there. Doing that back cross is something that further strengthens that genetic material to be consolidated into those traits, right, into the next generation. So that's and specifically in that situation for a back cross, but also when you're moving stuff into the next generation, it's stem rub comes in in a lot of ways, not only to check okay, like is this going to be a good terpene profile, or is this going to be what we're looking for, but is this what this strain is supposed to be, and is it completely different than we've smelled in previous generations if we're doing supreme runts F4 like we're doing right now.
If it grows straight up and tall with just less nodes on the side, is it more of an umbrella type? And
so structure is another big one for the vegetative features.
The leaf, are they short and stubby? Are they long and skinny? Are the serrations big? Are the serrations small?
Yep. Yeah, like we were just having that conversation about the supreme runs. Like the supreme runs has this strain trait where the leaves just like these giant, like you call them like jungle leaves. Like they're huge, and they're a very specific look to them. Like they're not like super fat. Like it's a very specific looking leaf, and we can kind of tell in the earlier stages these vegetative plants. We can see, okay, yeah, these have that trait. So they're more likely to be like an identical phenotype to what we're looking for if they've got the trait that we're looking for. And Eric mentioned structure, which I think is another huge like identifying characteristic of our strains, particularly, which is we breed for an even canopy. You can't really breed out the apical dominance. That dominant center cola is always going to be the tallest one. Like that's not as easy to breed out, but
making sure that we're selecting plants where the lateral branch structure is even across, like surrounding that center cola, and it just kind of it makes the plants a little bit more inviting for low stress training. It can create a better situation for topping. If you're going to top that center cola, you're going to end up with all of the other branches are not really struggling at this point for dominance. They're all kind of at the same height, and the light penetration is going to be a little bit better. And it just gives you a better structure overall to get better quality plants when you have that nice even canopy. So yeah, there's a lot of vegetative features, and something I mentioned earlier, is how they're handling the nutrients. But then certain plants will also be healthier just in general. Like you'll have a group of 100 plants, and you'll have, let's just say 15, 20 of them that look fucking amazing. Like there's no two ways about it. Like these look better than the others. And that's, again, something that's taken into consideration, and something that we hear a lot is people love the vigor that they see with these strains, and that is very much by design. It's bred in.
It's getting really hard to find a better plant than another. I have a full room downstairs, and I can't decide if anything's worse than anything else right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I want to kill things, but I just can't figure it out yet. They're just not showing me everything I need to see yet, and it's pretty crazy.
It's getting harder to pheno hunt, like for sure. It's getting harder to pheno hunt with all of these strains getting closer and closer to like true stabilization. They become less and less different from each other, and it's less obvious which ones we should go through and kill immediately, because I've posted videos.
Frost. So one day I just decide, hey man, if it's not making frost by a certain time frame, it's gone, because they just never catch up to the other ones that start early. And
they don't end up looking at like that. It's a huge, like 40 something. Yeah.
So early on I started doing that, but now everything's frosty. So it's like,
that and it's the big difference between like early on in developing a strain and then refining it, because it's a much more subtle process when you're going from, let's say, an F3 to an F4, an F4 to an F5, than it is from going, pheno hunting your original plants to make your F1 cross, or pheno hunting that F1 to make your F2. And even in the F2 generation, all of those recessive traits tend to come out, and that gives you the opportunity that, okay, these are obviously not what I'm looking for. These are obviously what I am looking for. But then when you do a good job with that, and you choose plants that are, genetically pretty similar to each other, you move into those later generations, and you got to wait longer really to see those traits come out that it is that you're looking for. So I'll take a couple questions here. So I see some coming in. As a novice, what's the best way to take down notes? I'm unsure what information is the most valuable to track. What info would you expect from a tester that would give me good context? So I'll handle that question first, and if Eric has any input into that also. So we have worksheets. We have worksheets for pheno hunting, and they'll be different for outdoor and indoor, but we have traits that we specifically look for certain strains, and then we focus on certain things to identify if we're looking to strengthen a characteristic. If we're looking to take, for example, with the granite haze, there's a pretty, relatively dominant phenotype that comes up pretty often that has like a gassier terpene profile. And we will add in specific areas for filling out our pheno hunting and just breeding documentation overall. Like, does this strain have whatever we call that terpene profile? Does it have that? It's a yes or no. So depending on what you're looking for, but we're looking at your structure, you're looking at frost, you're looking at terpenes, you're looking at density of the flowers. Speed is another one. These are all things that we have a 1 to 10 scale, or we have descriptors that we like to put, and it can be different from person to person depending who's taking the notes. It's not always precisely the same, but they can all be read by the other person, and we sort of understand what we're looking for. So for us, I mean, those are the categories that are the really big important ones. And then
there was that day that I had you go in and pick your favorite ones.
Right.
And they happen to be exactly my favorite ones. And we actually named them the same terpene profiles.
Yep. That happens really often. Yeah. And then, Eric has different preferences for strains. And I like the fruitier, like more dessert strains. And Eric is constantly looking for like the gassier, like funkier, then he'll use, there's one phenotype of the Granite Haze that he calls a gun chest, right?
Gun chest.
Yeah. Where when you smell it, it clicks and you're like, oh shit, okay, yeah. Like if you've ever opened up like a gun chest, it has this smell to it. Whatever materials that they make that thing out of have a really new car, like new car. It's just a distinct smell. Tennis ball, right? Rubber bands, yeah. And there will be really specific things. What was one? It was you'll come up with some like licorice. You'll come up with like cotton candy. You'll come up with things where he might not have initially smelled it, but then I will go and smell it and I'll ask you, hey, what do you think this smells like, without prompting it at all? And he'll, usually he'll come up with the same thing, but we have one that's in like an onion phenotype that we're actually pushing forward with that specific trait right now, because it's a really rare one in autoflowers, is a specific onion smell that doesn't come up a lot. So
get some GMO going.
Yeah, we were trying to breed, at least, we might not call it GMO, but we're going to breed toward that specific thing. Because I know that it's people love that particular terpene profile, and getting to that from where we're at now is a matter of isolating these specific terpene profiles, and whether it's just one component of it that we're looking for that's there, taking it and then mixing it with something or a phenotype that has other components of what we're looking for. So that's I would definitely make yourself a worksheet that you use. I know Humboldt Seed Company has like a decent Fino Hunting worksheet that you can download from their website. It's a good place to start, but looking for your plant structure, your vigor, you're looking at your terpene profiles, you're looking at your bud density, you're looking at the frostiness, like the stacking and the number of nodes, and then the speed. Like those are like, I would say, the core.
The amount of foliage.
Right. Like the canopy density and how it kind of fits in a little bit with structure and how the light penetration gets in. Then there's a lot of smaller ones that come in after that, and maybe just like a note section to write that stuff down. But yeah, those are the core.
Or like when we have the ones that have the splitting branches.
Right. Yeah. Well,
split.
There's some in the room right now. Yeah. There's like two tops. And it's an interesting phenotype, but it's worth noting, if that plant happens to be just the best one for some reason, but it has that trait, it's worth noting on your documentation to make sure that you're keeping track of, okay, like that phenotype had a tendency to have that weird, bifurcated top cola.
Yeah, so that one strain that would always, it shot a center leaf. It shot a center leaf out, and it topped itself and created two tops.
Is that the teacup one? Remember those? See, they were tiny little seedlings.
Yeah. Where that's like the leaf wouldn't even form completely.
It'd be like a teacup. It would like hold water. Yeah.
And there was like on the second set of branches, it would do this. So
yep.
It like immediately topped itself.
Yeah. And it can be a good thing, because it's like the plant is topping itself without going through the stress of having been topped. So it's something that we're definitely keeping an eye on. And whether we're specifically breeding for it right now or not, we're very aware of it, and we're very aware of all the little quirks that are going on with these.
When someone posted, there's branches growing where branches shouldn't be growing.
Yeah.
It's like, no kidding, it's crazy. It's totally crazy.
100%. Yeah. So I hope that helped answer a little bit of your question there. And then also, you look like a second part here. So, could you speak to the difference in nutrition and feeding when going for seeds over flower? My base understanding would suggest more nitrogen during flower and release. Yeah, phosphorus is a huge part of that. So plants they have a tendency to use up a ton of phosphorus in flower, and potassium also is a big part of it. But making sure that we're replacing the nutrients that the plants need in order to form the seeds. And calcium, I would say, is the most important thing, bar none, that people miss on a lot of other feeding schedules. With a lot of other nutrition in general with autoflowers, people miss out on how much calcium you really need. And you know, I can tell you right now, like looking at a lot of these nutrient lines out there, there are some that get it right, and there are some that are not nearly enough. And you know, it's I would say an example of one that gets it pretty right is Athena. Their Athena blended line. If you're looking at a liquid, they do a pretty good job with those feeding schedules, making sure that they're getting sufficient calcium. We still recommend quite a bit more than what the Athena is actually providing in their actual recommended dosage. But and then there's some ratios you just mentioned, getting more nitrogen to the plant later in flower, and that's 100%. The plant will devote a lot of its energy toward, and then right now I'm talking, this is more for flower, you know, so if you're looking for flower development and you're looking to keep, you know, your plants looking vibrant and healthy and growing as rapidly as they can, and putting on the resin that you want them to put on, making sure that you're providing that nitrogen later than people typically would, and in higher quantities than people typically would, is really important. And I'm of the belief that certain plants will fade, yes, and it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it can even be a good thing. But what I see a lot of online and on social media in general and on the Facebook group is people treating nutrient deficiency in late flower like it's a good thing. And it's not necessarily true 80% of the time. The other 20%, you could be purposefully depriving the plant of certain nutrients to stress condition it to produce more resin, or to get a little frostier, or even if you're looking for some specific color in your end flower. All these things are perfectly fine. But just in general, the plant losing its green color and moving into more like fall colors, I see a lot of people talking about how beautiful it is, and it is beautiful, but it's not necessarily the best for the plant. You're not necessarily getting all the weight that you normally would if that plant was, you know, supplied with everything it needed toward the end. But really, phosphorus is a big part of it, and potassium, higher quantities, closer to the 300 part per million of potassium and about 150 of phosphorus is the answer to that question. All right. I want to know, each of you, what's your favorite speedrun strain? Jason, so thank you. It's a good question. I've said this a bunch of times. My favorite strain has been Sapphire, and that's just one of the ones that was kind of my little project from the beginning. I just really had an affinity for those particular strains that came together to make that, and then, you know, that cross that we ended up making at first to create Sapphire. It was just, I was just downstairs smelling some of them in the F3 generation, and it just, I've said it before, I would make everything in the world smell like that. If everything smelled the same in the world and there was no differences between what anything smelled like, if I could choose one smell, it would be that. So yeah, that's my. It's a pretty good smell. I would say it's one of the best smelling strains. You want to know what your favorite strain is?
I like them all for their own little reasons. Like, I don't know, there's an earthiness more to the dog pounds.
Pound up.
Yeah, and then yeah, I mean, I like the rubber bandy phenos of some of the granite hazes that I've come across.
He does talk about that one a lot.
I just recently have done a pollination of those.
What you guys have to remember is that we create seeds in batches, and we'll be working with a specific strain for a few months, and then, you know, we're not making any more of it, so we'll move into working with completely different strains. So, you know, that's, I think, what I've noticed, and probably Eric has noticed also, is that we'll enjoy parts of certain strains and we'll have a really good time pheno hunting them. But then when it's out of sight, it's sort of out of mind a little bit too. And it's not like, you know, we have our heart set on running more of a particular thing because we put all of that energy into every strain that we're working with. So
yeah, I've run the F4 strain how many times now?
Yeah, that's, again, it's something.
I have we have 3-4 different varieties of F5s now.
Yeah, I haven't even told these guys that we decided to go back a generation on a couple strains, and we're taking the the Granite Haze F4 and the Pound Dog F4 back to F5, and then probably doing some back crosses as well. But we're gonna have a version 2 of the Granite Haze F5 and also the Pound Dog F5, and that's just because it sounds like it.
It's like, I don't know, hindsight's 2020. I mean, I don't know.
It's a good way to put it.
We can go back and we go, oh, there it is. There's the one I wanted. There it is. So then I can bring it forward to the palm that I've already collected of this, and then pollinate that, and then just reinforce what I'm exactly looking for. Instead of looking for something close enough, I'm like, I want to get the stability going.
Yeah, and it's something we'll notice in like a test run, or it's because when you do these runs and you make something like the Granite Haze F5, you do a test run of it, and you're looking at these plants, and you get to a certain point where you can really identify the stability, and we have to say to ourselves or to each other, is this it? Like, is this good enough to release as the Granite Haze F5? And if the answer is yes, then it gets released. And if the answer is no, then we go back a generation and redo it. But then if the answer is yes, that doesn't mean that we don't still kind of want to go back to a generation and like tweak it just a little bit. And it doesn't mean this entire batch of seeds is bad and we're not going to release it, but it means maybe they still need just a little bit of work, and we don't want to move forward from the F5 to the F6 before we go back and correct it.
And then sometimes we think what's going to happen is going to happen, and then we plant those seeds, and what happened isn't what we expected to happen,
100%.
So.
Yeah. So hope that gave you a little bit of an answer there. And then Drew says, breeding is tedious for sure. A lot of time goes into it. Oh my God. Yeah, it's all of our time goes into that. Says, any further info on Dreamcast? Popped 4 with Float Tech 3 days ago, potted up hours ago, Sativa, Indica Percentage, leggy, stubby, not too much info. Yeah, so the Dreamcast, that is the Sapphire Supreme Runt, and so when we get this question pretty often, and I always like to sort of make my opinion and the general scientific consensus about Sativa Indica known. There's no such thing as Sativa Indica percentage. There's no chemical. There is no group of things. There's no terpenes. There's nothing where you can say, okay, when you get to the 100%, mark on that spectrum, it is indica, and when you get to the 0% mark, it is now sativa. It doesn't exist. There's no consensus on the group of things that will tell you, okay, that is what makes an indica, that's what makes a sativa. There are traits. There are plant height. There's leaf shape, but they are not specific to what There's no terpene profile that fits with that particular leaf shape that makes that an indica. There's no chemical profile. There's no cannabinoid profile that fits with that particular, flowering time and that leaf shape to make it a sativa. Like, none of that really exists. It's all marketing. And because it is the generally understood way of telling somebody, the way that this affects people when you smoke it is you get, a little bit more drowsy, or a little bit more couch lock, or you get a more creative high to it. Then we'll tell, it's got an indica effect profile, or it's got a sativa effect profile. And that's our consensus, or that's our concession that we've made, because it's not necessarily scientific to talk about it that way. And we really like to focus on like the science of it, but it's so well understood what that means in the industry that's what we say about them. And that strain in particular, I would say it leans more to like the uplifting creative side, the sativa side of things. But again, these strains can affect everybody differently. And if you have a breeder that tells you 100% of the time this strain is going to make you feel like this, just don't believe that, because everyone kind of gets a different. Yeah. He'll smoke something, I'll smoke it, and we'll have a complete disagreement about what that strain really is. So that's a tough one. And then it's stretchy. It's a little bit stretchy. It's a little bit tall. It needs, high light intensity is good for that strain, and giving it a good amount of room. Super frosty. It's got a great terpene profile. Super fruity.
All of our strains need room.
Yeah, they like to spread around.
No 4 plants in a 3x3 tent.
Yeah, we sometimes get frustrated when we see that on like the Facebook group and somebody's starting like a bunch of plants in this little tent because they grew some like 420 fast buds or something last run, and that's what fit.
I would
And
do one plant in a 3x3 tent.
yeah, oh yeah, one plant is sufficient. You know, in like a 7-gallon pot would be great. So see where we were at here. Yeah, so that's some information on the Dreamcast. Real frosty strain. It's really good. Can you explain S1? What's the difference between Holy Fire and Holy Fire S1? Yeah. So Holy Fire, you know, that's an F1 cross where, you know, you take 2 strains, cross them together, and then the resulting generation is that that next cross. And if the 2 strains were relatively stable, kind of in a similar way to each other, that F1 is going to be relatively stable also. It's going to be a nice blend of those 2 parents. So, and that was absolutely the case with the Sapphire and the Frosted Cheerios. You know, they're both kind of at that same level of stability when we crossed them. And that created the Holy Fire, which has a nice blend of those characteristics. And it's not, you know, super diverse as far as phenotypes. It's not, you know, stabilized, you know, but it is a stable F1 compared to other ones, if that makes any sense. And then the
S1.
The S1, right? S1 is taking your plant, and it's for us, it's a little bit different than for other breeders. And Eric could probably get into our procedure, you know, if he wants to tell you guys about that at all. But we spray only 1 or 2 branches on a plant with the silver thiosulfate, which is the chemical that reverses the plant from female to male to get pollen. So the plant that was sprayed, the pollen branch gets cut off, and the pollen is, you know, it's taken away from the plant, it's taken away from everything and allowed to mature a little bit in essentially what's like a flower vase. So we don't let the pollen dump on the plant itself. We take it away before it's opened, and we let it mature elsewhere in a pollen, you know, seclusion chamber, as you can call it that, with some vacuum pressure. So we keep the pressure negative, and that means that it goes through a HEPA filter, and any air coming out of that tent is going to be passed through the HEPA filter, and no pollen spreads around the whole building. But so that's where those pollen branches get moved, and then when we come back and pollinate that room, the pollen branch that we used and the plant that pollen branch came off of, when those 2 come together again, and the plant that you cut the branch off of gets pollinated by that branch, you get a full plant full of seeds that are selfed. That plant has pollinated itself. And then the other plants in that population that we've pollinated with that male or that pollen donor are F1s, and the one, you know, that the pollen came off of that gets pollinated again is an S1. And sometimes we end up with thousands, you know, big plants of those S1s. And sometimes we'll sell them because we've done a run of them and we really like them, and sometimes we don't. So that's what the S1 is on the Holy Fire, and that one was more of like a sweet berry terpene profile is what you can kind of expect from the F1 or the S1 of the Holy Fire, versus like the real hazy, super fruity kind of blend of Frosted Cheerios and Sapphire. If you guys have run either of those, that you would see in the F1s, you know, more so. So let's see. Sean, that was your,
We can walk them down to the room to see what's going on.
Yeah, we can go downstairs. We're upstairs in our offices right now, but we can definitely go downstairs and give you guys a little peek at what's going on in the rooms. Let's see. Drew was saying all my phenos were like lemon lime Skittles and gas of granite F4. Yeah, that's a huge. That lemon lime Skittles is, you know, it's a pine crossed with citrus is how people typically describe haze, and that's, you know, definitely really forward with that.
Sometimes a little Lysol-y.
And then Drew says that right Lysol cleaning product, Pine Sol, yeah, and says the F5 was the same but more gas, and that's because that we bred to bring out those funkier, gassier phenotypes more in the F5, and that's, you know, that's the difference between an F4 and an F5. So let's see. I see calcium. I think you meant Mg and manganese. and are important to keep in balance. I like using a lot of shells for that on micronutrients. Sorry, I'm trying to pull your question out of this, but yeah, so I'll just kind of cover that real quick. Manganese and iron are both really important. You mentioned manganese there. Calcium and magnesium, again, really important. There's a little bit of a myth about there being a really specific ratio of calcium to magnesium that's important for plants, or for cannabis plants specifically. There's really no research to show that the ratio is as important, just like the ratio of calcium to nitrogen is very important. But there's not a lot of research to show that the ratio of magnesium to calcium is as important, as long as they're getting sufficiently supplied with both of those. And then manganese, you kind of keep around the same inputs as you do with like iron. So your manganese is going to be a couple parts per million. Your iron might be up to about 4 parts per million, depending on your pH and how they're absorbing. But yes, all of that is very much the truth that you're talking about of how to keep your plants healthy there. And we're talking about liquid feed. You're talking about building a soil, which are definitely two different styles of feeding there. So do we know why autoflower males produce less pollen? How would one determine quality? I would say Eric probably agrees with me that an actual male, I don't believe that they do produce less pollen.
It's been a long time since we had a regular male.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of regular breeding. But you're talking about reversed female to male plants? Yes, less pollen. And that's probably just a factor of the plant not having been male from the very beginning and it going through a stressor that changed it, or, a hormonal change. And it's just not as productive as it would have been just a regular male. But the males, absolutely, you could, buckets of pollen off of some legit males. And the feminized, the reverse. Oh my God, yeah, crazy. Yeah, when we were still breeding regular with pound dog, insane amounts of pollen. Like you can't even walk into the room, and your air pressure that you changed when you walked into the room causes it to yeah. So but the just probably because of the nature of reversing, you don't get as much pollen, I think is what your question there. So how would one determine quality of specifically like a male? I'd have to really rephrase your question there, because
like how do you determine what a good male is next to another male?
Well, we do it differently. We let the plants flower out.
Yeah, we figure out what the weed looks like first and smells like before we
which is
use it.
A big thing that kind of separates us from the way a lot of other people breed, is that a lot of people will reverse an entire plant and they'll populate a nice group of females with one reversed male, reverse female to male. And FTM trans is, transition from your born female plant to your male plant. And that gives you a cross where you don't know what the phenotype of that female would have been. You don't get to see that plant ever finish. You don't get to know how many days did it flower, what was the terpene profile, how frosty was it going to be. You don't get to see all that. Yeah, you can see the male traits. You can see the clusters of pollen sacs, and yeah.
If you're breeding for males.
Yeah, well, there's certain reversals where they reverse better. Like you get a more complete reversal, or you get
right. Yeah, some don't want to reverse.
Yeah, some are super finicky and they don't ever want to. Yeah, but yeah. So it's looking for us. It's by looking at it after the fact and going back and using that pollen in the next generation is how we avoid making those wrong decisions.
So sometimes I can get pollen off the branches in time to actually pollinate those same group of plants.
Right.
Other times it takes too long, and then that pollen isn't available to actually use on those group of plants. So that's when I collect it, save it, do a whole nother replanting of the plant, and then specifically look for exactly what I'm looking for at that point.
Yep. And we'll have taken notes on, so, just to give you guys like a visualization of this, let's just say we had 10 plants that usually a lot more, but let's just say we had 10 plants that we reversed a branch or two on, and we let those finish out, and we will keep our phenotype notes, our documentation with that pollen. So that pollen will have a number, and a letter. Usually it's a, like A1 pollen, or it's your B7, whatever that is, your phenotypes. And that, we can go back to our notes and we can say, okay, this one finished at 65 days. And we are looking to cross it with another one that finishes in 65 days. So we're going to pollinate, 30 plants with this A1 pollen. And then the plants that come out at the end, where we get all these different phenotypes, and, we'll see how they finish out. And at that point, they'll all have seeds. We can match our A1 pollen phenotype to an A1 pollen recipient seed-bearing plant, that now we've got a direct copy, a identical phenotype, and we go forward with selling those seeds that we cross the two like phenotypes. And then there's other ones that we'll use to make the next generations, or we'll do more test runs and we'll find new traits that we really like, and we'll maybe take it in a different direction. We'll use it for crosses. There's a lot of different things that can happen with
Sometimes the traits get more predominant, more strong smelling, more, it's like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, you get real surprised by things sometimes. Things that you never would expect to become like a dominant trait in a strain. Absolutely does. What's up, Ron? How you doing? So make sure I didn't miss any questions here. No difference between trichome maturation speed and indicas versus sativas. Again, there's not a real way to say what an indica is and what a sativa is, especially when you bring in ruderalis. Now you've got like a whole third unknown factor and then you can have genetic tests done, and you can people like to calculate what percent ruderalis something is and how far removed it is away from, your original landrace ruderalis. And it gets it brings a real complicated layer of. No, these are more similar to a photoperiod that just has that autoflowering characteristic. And that's what you're going for, is everything about a photoperiod, but it flowers on its own. But yeah, so no, I would say no. I would say plant to plant, it can be different. And I have heard people say that sativas can take longer to mature. The trichomes can take longer to get cloudier, can take longer to get amber, and maybe they're lumping that in with just the structurally what people would say is a sativa, like the longer, lankier, thinner leaves take a little bit longer to flower, all that kind of stuff. Like morphologically, sativas. But again, it's not really how we characterize things, and it's not always the case where the taller, skinnier ones will take longer to mature, and the shorter, more squat ones will be faster. Maybe you could say generally that's a rule of thumb, but I think that's more of just, yeah. It's not 100%, but it's generally, it happens more. But I wouldn't say that's an indica sativa thing. I would just say that that's a straight a strain or a phenotype characteristic that, doesn't mean that it's always going to have skinny leaves when it's a tall, slower one, or it's not,
Those change. Everything changes. Everything's.
100%. All right. So, do you have any resources you could recommend to understand the relationship between different terps that results into different flavors?
Charts and stuff on there.
There's some really good terpene charts. Yeah, I would say terpenes kind of are flavors. That's a interesting way to phrase that question. So terpenes are volatile oils that are scent chemicals, but also, they have a flavor to them. So what I would recommend is go and look at some terpene analysis for cannabis, pick a strain that you really like, and research, try to find some terpene analysis. We have done this for, coming up on a decade now of working with cannabis and having seen COAs, certificate of analysis on plants, and having seen the test results and knowing, okay, this plant smells like this. And then we'll have a terpene analysis done on it, and we'll see, okay, ocimene. Ocimene, every time there's a plant that has ocimene, it smells like pineapple. And then you go and look it up, and it's really high in pineapple. So you just kind of discover things, and you know what they taste and smell like because you've seen it happen before. But then you can sort of go back and say, okay, ocimene smells and tastes like pineapple. Myrcene has more of a mango kind of thing going on to it. Caryophyllene is more of like a spicy, peppery, earthy. Then you've got your Farnesene. Farnesene is more like an apple, like a green apple smell to it. Terpenylene, hazy. Limonene can be skunky and smell a little bit like lemon. There's delta limonene and yeah, there's a couple different limonenes. Then there are all the pinenes. There's alpha pinene and beta pinene. I want to say there's a few different ones where each of those have their own unique kind of piney smell to them. And another one is valencine. It's where they get that from Valencia oranges. Same root word there because it smells like oranges. There's one that's licorice, and I'm forgetting which one that is right now. But you can connect different terpenes to different results in the final, the finished flower. And yeah, that was a relatively decent rundown of some of the more common ones. When are the mystery bean packs coming out? Very soon. We're going to be releasing kind of a bunch of new things that are not necessarily new strains. We're doing some multi-packs that we've chosen for you, that we've curated for you guys. So there'll be like the outdoor multi-pack for this season, and you'll be able to just kind of pick up the same number of seeds, same three packs essentially, which is 12 seeds because there's four in each jar. And we will choose plants that we think would go really well together as a nice little outdoor run. And then we're going to do, there's like plants that are really frosty, like especially frosty, are strains that are really, or strains that have more of like the hazy terpene profile, or like the dessert floral, and then ones that are a little skunkier, have that more like, funky terpene profile going on.
Dog food, Chinese food.
Yeah, there's what was that? It was Frosted Cheerios that has that like rotten Chinese food kind of nose to it, and it's so hard to describe to somebody unless they're smelling it, because that sounds horrible, but when you smell it, you're like, oh, that's horrible in a good way. But yeah, kind of grouping those together and producing some nice little multi-packs that kind of make some decisions for you guys if you're looking for a particular thing. And then also around that time, so probably within this coming week, we're waiting for the new packaging before they're for sale. But yeah, so as soon as all that gets here, you're going to see the mystery packs coming out also, mystery seed packs coming out also. And we'll release more information on what the price point that we're going to put on those is. And yeah, speaking of, how far are we into this? 52 minutes. We got some seeds here, and we're going to be doing a seed counter giveaway. See it in the background there? So we'll do that in a second. Let me wrap it up here. But yes, that is that. Did you bring the bag up too? Yeah. Maybe I'll grab a handful for them so they know we didn't cheat. But okay, well, I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna just maybe grab these last couple questions and try to answer them relatively quickly here. You're making any crosses with the Pound Dog yet? Yes, we are. You will see those coming out. We're doing test runs of stuff right now, so not going to be in the very near future, but they will be coming out. What is the average yield of seeds per plant? Are they generally all of use and high quality? How do you quantify that? I have no experience or frame of reference in this. It's really plant to plant. So some plants like being seeded. Some plants make seeds really readily. Some plants don't like to be pollinated, and you only get, really low yield on seeds on certain ones. And then depending on, the plant specific nutrition and how the root zone is doing, the health of the root zone, all that kind of stuff depends on your seed maturity. And there are specific feeding schedules that we use to more rapidly get to that seed maturity that we like to see, and to harvest those in the same time frame or shorter than what the normal harvest time for that strain would be, are all things that we consider in. But if you're talking about, and then we also run a few different pot sizes. So, but if you do things right, and it's not always the case that things are done perfectly right, but if you do things right, you could potentially get thousands of seeds off of a large plant. And but it's not always the case. So sometimes you get really, like we have some downstairs that are just like stellar. They did a great job with pollination, and we're going to get a really good seed yield on some of those Sapphire F3s. But then, not always the case with certain strains. Cheerios doesn't really like to, yeah. It's a tougher one to pollinate. So
time before it,
made a ton on the first one, yeah. So
look for, maybe it skips a generation.
Yeah, it's possible.
We'll note it.
Love to hear more about the final boss. Yeah, so that final boss, that one has like a different kind of frostiness to it. That's the double O. That we isolated this double O Kush phenotype from. We got these seeds. I think it's double O Seed Bank. I think I got like a 5-pack of seeds from them years ago, and we did a ton of pheno hunting on that. It took us a long time to get to a phenotype that we even really like to work with. And I was not the one that really saw promise in it. Eric was really the one that found that phenotype and really wanted to work with it moving forward. I was kind of like, let's maybe just not run the double O anymore. But he did a really good job in moving it along generation by generation and getting us to a very unique phenotype of that strain that was really different than what we started with. Really different.
It's really surprising.
Yes.
How nice it's coming out.
It's insane how nice it. Yeah. So that now crossing that with the Granite Haze, that brought us to the final boss, and it's just like, it's so difficult, or not Granite Haze, with the Granite, so difficult to describe that strain any other way, but it's just the frostiest auto flower that you will ever grow. They grow really big. They're really strong plants. They do a really good job. We're doing another run of them actually right now. And
see how big they are. They're the biggest ones in the room right now, actually.
100%.
But
yeah.
There's no pound dogs in there either, so compare them to it.
Right. Yeah. It's a lot of the plants right now that we're at day like 40, 43 or something on these plants that are in the room. And we'll try to give you guys a quick, either a sneak peek here, or we'll post some videos afterwards. Maybe we'll get some video and post it afterwards, because we're going to do the seed counter giveaway.
Yeah, we'll just do a video walkthrough real quick. Look back at it.
Yeah. We'll post that separately as just a YouTube video. But Frosty and the Sapphire F2, different kind of frost, Joe. Really different structure on the,
3 teaspoons of seeds right there.
well, now that you just told them, get back.
But that doesn't count.
Here, let me see the back real quick. This is a lot. This is gonna take a long time to count. I'm gonna do a little less than that. All right, here. You know what I got here? I'm just gonna grab a handful. All right, so mystery seeds.
Just for counting purposes.
These are just for counting purposes. We're not giving these seeds away this time. We're going to be doing giveaways of the Blappleberry and the Granite Haze F4 crossed with Supreme Runts F2. We're giving away packs of those. We'll do a few, and then we're going to also be doing sticker giveaways. We'll probably, somebody who wins here, will probably send them one of each of all the stickers, and maybe a few of the logo ones. So we'll do a couple giveaways real quick, and then how many guesses? We can do it the same way we did last time. I think that worked pretty well, which is the way it's going to work is I am going to grab a handful of these seeds. I'm going to put them in here. I'm going to show them to you guys. You're going to have an opportunity to look at them, decide how many you think there are. And then I'm going to, create a little bit of a landmark in the comment. So right now, the last comment I'm seeing is the one that says how many guesses from Mark. And so I'll say, okay, go, and you'll make your guesses as to how many you think it is. You can guess as many times as you want in that time. And then I will point to a comment. I'll say, okay, that's the last one. I'll do a little countdown. And between whoever gets the closest to the correct number, between the two comments that I mentioned, you win. Okay. So let's do this. Let's see me grab a little handful here. Oop. Okay. Yeah. So let's do this for you. Take a look. Don't guess yet. I will tell you when. Okay. So should give you an idea. And all right, start guessing in 3, 2, 1. Start guessing.
They're black, they can't see it.
Oh, they can't see it. Okay, sweet. I'll give you guys a few minutes here to, not a few minutes. I'll give you like another 15 seconds or so. And then I'll move the computer over so you can watch. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last comment is I'll do Ken Weather Update 155. So where Ken Weather Update said 155 right there, that's the last comment. So Let me go ahead and let's do this, and you guys can see the seeds counting. I haven't noticed that little light in there. Again, so the way that this works is, here, maybe I can just put it down and you can watch from the front here. So the way that the seed counter works is that this is not spinning. Like this is not a spinner, that is a vibrating platform. So what we're getting out of that is it's moving the seeds around a little ramp on the inside. I'm doing a motion with my finger that you can't see. A little ramp on the inside that pushes the seeds toward the little counter, and it comes through here and it counts the seeds that fall into this little bucket. And a couple more. One more. Okay. So we're going to be at 126. 126 was the number. And let's see who got closest. So it was Ken Weather Update. At 155 was the last one. So before that comment, whoever got closest to 126, I see 125 from Sean Dunham. That's probably going to be pretty close. Sean, that might be you. Yeah, Sean 125. Says G-Dank says he got 125 before Sean. Okay, yeah. We'll verify, but one of you guys is probably the winner here. 125 from Sean, I see that one. And then on my end here, I do not see another 125 before that. But we'll make sure that we go back and review the tape. G-Dank first. Okay, cool. Yeah. So G-Dank, you won, and I will write your name down real quick on a Post-it note. Okay. Okay. So this one, I didn't even say what this giveaway was for. So we will do a pack of the Granite Haze F4 crossed with Supreme Runs F2 for that one. So that's what you got on that. And we'll do the nice little fat pack there. It's not necessarily just going to be a 3-pack. So shake that real quick. He's not right, Will, if you don't shake it. And then G-Dank, can you go ahead, if you're in our Facebook group, or if you know any of our social medias that you can message us on, Instagram or Facebook, just please send us a message so that we can keep track. And it was the Supreme Runs crossed with Granite Haze. So we've got you down for that. So we'll do another one. We'll maybe do like 2 more. We'll do 1 pack of each of the strains, and then we'll do a sticker thing here. So here, you want to? So I'm not reaching over there. I'll just reset that. And okay. We will do 1 more here. Actually, no, we're doing 2 more here. Fuck it. That's a nice little big hand. You know what? I'm just going to pour some in. I want to make this one harder on you guys. This one's going to be a little tougher.
So I get it right this time?
You got 125. Pretty close, yeah. All right. So thought it was only 1 guess. No, you guys can guess as many times as you want during that period. But if you did win, like G-Dank, please don't guess on the next one. It's just to make it fair for everybody else.
You can guess.
Yeah, you can guess as much as you want, but you're not going to win twice. It's going to go to somebody who is the next closest if you won. So winners, please don't guess again, just to make it fair for everybody. If you're really good at this, then you'll win once, and everyone else gets a chance. Okay, so we are going to say start guessing now.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, this one might take a minute, but I'd make it a little tougher for you. Oh wait, yeah. Don't let them see that. All right. I'm gonna say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Last one was 385 from Sean Dunham. Maybe I'll accept 500 from Joe D'Amato. We can make that the last one. It's a nice round number there. So 500 from Joe is the last one that we're gonna be counting there. And you guys, here, I'll move this a little closer so you can watch. I might even try to give you a little view of the side of the seed counter here so you can, so the little seeds get sped out of that little hole right there and fall into the little bucket. There is a little like light counter thing that every time a seed passes over and breaks the little laser counter line, it counts it. So it is pretty accurate. It's accurate within about like 5 or 6 seeds we found. But yeah. So there's gonna be a lot. There's still a lot in there. So if anybody guessed under 350, you probably didn't win. Yeah. I think it's a fun way to do the giveaways. I think everybody seems to enjoy this, and I know I like it. I think it's a really unique way to do it. As a little bit of like, what's the word for it? Panache. Getting close there.
Things on the track, man. It's just final rotation.
Final rotation. Got one stubborn one behind there.
Cute.
Oh shit.
It's exactly 420.
No fucking way. No way.
No way. It's 420, dude.
That is insane. Can you believe that? Of all the numbers it could have been.
That's it. It's not a single more seed.
No fucking way. That's crazy. That's crazy. We got to clip that and put that on on the highlight channel. That's insane.
How many people guessed 420?
Yeah, who guessed 420? I know there's going to be people who guessed. So who guessed 420 first is the question.
Didn't this happen last time? Didn't we count like a 419 for the last time?
Did we? I don't think so. No.
420 person who guessed 420 was the closest.
No, well, no, it was 450 something. I think it was. Yeah. All right, let's see who guessed closest to, or guessed probably. People are going to have guessed 420. I see 30. Looking for 420. 100. 9.
Did nobody guess 420? Very disappointed.
Joe D'Amato says he guessed 420. Yeah, Joe Natoli guessed 420 first, for sure. Yes, that was one of the first guesses. So, Joe, you got it. You got it.
Good job, Joe.
Yeah, Joe, you're getting the Blappleberry. Joe, I think you already had the Blappleberry, so we might be able to work something else out for you if you wanted a different strain. But we're gonna do one last one. Yeah, isn't that unbelievable? 420 on the nose. That was amazing. Okay. Give you guys a look here.
Definitely more than the first time, and less.
Don't give any hints. All right. I'm going to say you can start guessing in 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. just get 420 again. Like, if that happens, I might have to stop doing these lives because there's never going to top that moment. All right, stop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. I will do Ken weather update again at 290. That was when I said stop. So Ken weather update at 290 was the last one, and then it was like Joe said when it was his first guess or whatever. That was the first. Yeah, you'll be able to see what the first one was. 290 from Ken, and yeah, Joe Natoli won that one. That's the Blappleberry. And the this one is for the sticker giveaway, so you're gonna get one of everything here. But yeah, no, they're not guessing anymore, so you can take that away, and let's give them a little bit of a view here so they can see what's up. I need some music. We need to like start. We need to make this official. We need like seed counter music. I gotta find a video editor to make this thing look good. Getting there, getting there. Here, just because it's interesting, I will give you guys another little peek into the top so you can really see if you didn't get a good look at it last time. So that plate is vibrating, and then there's little grooves that it's like a like a spiral staircase kind of how that gets to that little ramp. So you can see they like to vibrate around the edge up to wrong direction. Yeah, so sorry, it's awkward holding that computer. And we are one more, 345. 345 is the number. 345. Oh boy, let's see if I can not kill myself. Okay, 345. So we will go up to here. I see 354, 333, 324, 350. Joe D'Amato had 350. 340, Mark. $345, Jason B. Anybody else? I see 345 from Jason B, but then I see it again from Robert, and on my screen, Jason B got it first. Very good job there. Yeah, Mark also got 345, but the first one gets it. I see from what I can tell, Jason B. So, yep, everybody agrees. So, Jason B, I love seeing a new name winning. Jason B, you get one of each of all the stickers. Hey, there might be some seeds in there too. So, yeah, I think they already saw all the stickers, right? So, but yeah. So that's going to be it. We're probably going to wrap it up. Jason, please do send me a direct message or send us a direct message on the Instagram, on the Facebook. You can send it to me at, I'm Ben Koch on Facebook. You can send it to anyone where we're going to be able to keep track of you and make sure that we get your address and we get that out to you, because YouTube profiles here don't really give, I don't know if I can message people. So, yes. See Robert first too? On my screen, Robert was after Jason. Are you guys seeing it on your end? You're first? Well, then we'll have to,
it is what it is on our side.
Yeah, I think we can. It's not super fair if it's just like a luck of the draw. I don't know, but Robert, we'll take care of you.
Maybe they can faster
Robert, send me a message also. We can send out stickers to both of you guys. So, Mark, is your screen showing you're the first one also?
I'm starting to catch a trend here. They're all saying it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I doubt you guys, but just so that we can better make this thing work in the future, and if we're gonna choose a way to do giveaways, it might not have to be live like this. So
We don't have a timestamp for
dead flower, you're just fucking with us at this point. Don't do that. But no, Robert, don't get all passive aggressive about it. No, we'll take care of you. Send it. Just if you were the first one to get 345, and if that's how it shows up on your screen, Mark, also send me some screen caps so that I can keep track of what it looks like on your end and what it looks like on my end. Yeah. Send in some screenshots of it so that I can see how far off it really is, and we can choose a new way to do the giveaways. Please. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Mark. And Robert, same with you. And then also Jason, if you want to send in a screen cap of yours also.
no cut and paste in photo editing.
Nobody's fucking do that. Eric's a little bit more conspiracy theory than I am. But okay. All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap it up. This was fun. We'll probably do this kind of thing again, and maybe we'll take some more specific questions ahead of time next time so that we can answer your questions on stream that you've already asked, leading up to it. But thank you. We went pretty far over tonight, so thanks for sticking with us. This is another successful, fun little Sunday here.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers out there. I don't see any females in the chat, but it doesn't mean that you can't be a mother. So, all right, guys, love you. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Sunday. Have a good week. You'll see me on the social medias. Have a good one. See Eric too. All right, bye, guys.